Lift every voice and sing. 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 Lift every voice and sing.
All right, so good, I don't even know, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, however you are. Welcome to our very first CAAAS conversation. You may be asking, what is the CAAAS? The CAAAS is the Center for African and African American Studies. I am joined, first, I should introduce myself. Hey y'all, I am John Robinson Miller IV. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the inaugural associate director for the CAAAS. I am joined today with the amazing, dynamic, brilliant, yes, Dr. Reiland Rabaka. You wanna give the people a little bit of you?
Greetings. Listen, I am Professor Reiland Rabaka, founder and director of the Center for African and African American Studies, University of Colorado Boulder, and I am delighted to be here.
Absolutely. We think that this is a great opportunity just to let you all in a little bit about what the CAAAS is. So my very first question to Dr. Rabaka is, what is the CAAAS and who's the CAAAS for?
What is the CAAAS? Who is the CAAAS for? The CAAAS is the Center for African and African American Studies. We call it, commonly called, the CAAAS. It is for, obviously, Black folk, primarily, but secondarily, it is for our anti-racist allies. They too need a space to come and evolve into anti-racism. There's a lot of buzzwords going around about critical race theory and race as a social construct and this and that. And so this is a space where people can study Africa, African Americans, and the African diaspora. And this is a safe space. This is a teaching and learning and sharing space. So we want to make sure that everyone feels welcomed in this space. But again, it's a learning space. So you will be taught when you come into this space. You will learn some things. And in fact, as we say in Kiswahili, karibu, welcome. You have found yourself in a peaceful and beautiful place, a place where you can grow and develop. And again, primarily for Black folk, that's students, staff, and faculty. And then secondarily for everybody else, because there's a lot of people who are genuinely interested in Africa and African culture. They want to study the culture. They want to learn more. And so I see the CAAAS, it's almost like I'm an ambassador. And in fact, John, we are ambassadors for African and African diasporian culture. And so this is a space where we can study Africanity in the Western Hemisphere. So even when I say African American in the title of the brand new center, I'm meaning Black people throughout the Americas, North, Central, and South, including the Caribbean islands. So it's a hemispheric conception of African Americans. And we're talking about our connections to continental Africa, right? If not, African people throughout the full African diaspora.
Absolutely. I'm excited, one, not only to be joining this team in this community, but really to be able to create that space, to create that environment where I feel like we oftentimes in a college environment only get this conception of Africanity or of Blackness through this kind of academic intellectual lens that puts some distance between us and it. And I'm excited that we get to create a space where we get to live it. We get to embrace Black love and Black joy. We get to learn about resistance. We get to learn about history, but most of all, we get to be. We get to exist and learn how to take up space and inspire students to take up space as well. So a little bit expanding on what you just said, what do you hope? And the key word here is hope. And I mean it in the Blackest sense of the word. What do you hope that the CAAAS can offer the Boulder community?
Well, again, in creating this center with fabulous student leaders, let me say their names. Ruth Woldemichael, Korea White, Audrea Fryer, Isaiah Chavos, in creating this center. We have three major program areas. We have a research program, we have an arts program, and we have a student services program. Obviously, John Robinson Miller IV is the program manager for our student services program. And we are very serious about serving students because they are the most vulnerable on the Boulder campus. And so again, we want to turn to the least of these, as they say in the Black church. Y'all can't hear me, hallelujah. And so what I hope for is that we literally build a permanent space on the Boulder campus for Black culture and to build Black community. On the Boulder campus, a very vanilla environment, a predominantly white institution. We are building a Black institution within a predominantly white institution. And John Robinson Miller IV, isn't that a metaphor for Black America? Isn't that the entire, isn't that our entire experience in the United States of America, that we're gonna carve out our own special little space in the context, right, of the larger America? That's one part. The second part, the Center for African and African American Studies is a bridge from Blackness on the Boulder campus to Blackness in the Boulder community, in the Denver metropolitan area. And in fact, when they started our field, it was called Black Studies in the late 1960s. They said that a Black Studies scholar, a Black Studies student must be a bridge from the campus to the community, that a Black Studies scholar should synthesize the knowledge being created on the college campus with the knowledge, that is created in the Black community. That means that people like most of the folks in my family who have never gone to a college or a university, they have schooled me. They continue to teach me. Every time I talk to my mama and my grandmama in them, I learned something. So knowledge isn't simply being produced on college campuses. Knowledge is being produced in our communities, in our mosques, in churches, and synagogues, and spiritual temples. All throughout life, there's a sense in which we have to be organic intellectuals. We have to be folk philosophers. And so all the CAAAS is doing is synthesizing academic philosophy with folk philosophy. And that's why, again, there's going to be an emphasis not simply on intellectualism and scholarship, but the arts, because that's a special way that Black folk have been able to offer up speak their special truths to the world. So there's a lot, for me, there's a lot of epistemology, a big word for knowledge production. There's a lot of knowledge being produced in the arts. I can hear songs by Tracy Chapman or Michelle Ndegeocello or Jill Scott or Erykah Badu or India Arie or Alicia Keys or Beyonce. I can hear songs by them and they're putting me on. They're really keeping me hip and giving me knowledge about what's happening in Black America. And you know, I can talk about hip hop, how much knowledge is produced in rap music and hip hop culture. It's really fascinating to me, to be honest with you, the very unique and distinct ways that Black folk are expressing themselves and speaking our special truths to the world.
Absolutely. It's clear that you have a passion for this, and hopefully it's clear that we both have a passion for this.
Come on.
But I really have to ask, like, why are you involved in the CAAAS? And I think I will kind of separate this question out into two. I think, why are we involved in the CAAAS on the Boulder community? And then why are we involved in this larger cause? Because like you just said, this center is not devoid or separate from Blackness that is happening anywhere else in the world.
Teach.
So why? What is your why moving into this space?
Well, the why is that I've been out here in Boulder, Colorado for 17 years. I have been campaigning for the CAAAS. I have been campaigning for the Center for African and African American Studies for 17 years. And it took the Black Lives Matter movement reinvigorated me intellectually. The Black Lives Matter movement reinvigorated me as an activist. the Black Lives Matter movement reinvigorated me as an artist, John. I mean, there's a lot of inspiration, right? That comes from the movement. And I wanted to create an institution so that future generations would know that it was on and popping, even in Boulder, Colorado, during the Black Lives Matter movement. I wanted to take some of the knowledge that I was being exposed to in the community as an activist and sort of refract that, take that back to the college campus. And when I did that, I started interacting with all of these incredibly politically progressive students who they understood a critique like I do, that there's a lot of talking about intersectionality on the Boulder campus. In BLM, we actually put it into practice. So instead of just talking about it and teaching about it, what happens if we apply intersectionality, this notion of our identities, right? Always intersecting, right? So race and racism, gender and sexism and patriarchy, class and capitalism, sexuality, right? And heterosexism and heteropatriarchy, the ways that those are actually impacting us. In BLM, it's not just an academic exercise. Oh no, it's reality, it's real. I have been able to learn from more Black queer feminists, Black trans folks, Black intersex folks, Black folks who are immigrants, with Black folks with disabilities, right? I mean, this is incredible. So imagine, as a social scientist, I have been studying these things for all of these years. And here in my lifetime, John, is a movement that embodies so many of the principles that I embrace as a professor. And also it's modeling that for my students as well. They're the ones who saw me at the community rally and said, hey, Dr. Rabaka, listen, you out here killing the game in these streets. Why don't you bring some of this? Teach us a class on the movement so we can get college credit for a course. They said, Dr. Rabaka, you're teaching us a course on the Harlem Renaissance, on the civil rights movement, on the Black power movement, on the Black women's liberation movement. Can we get a course on our movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the most electrifying movement of the modern moment? And I said, well, my students schooled me. I said, well, y'all got a point. And so that's how I created 5 years ago, the Black Lives Matter movement class. And it was out of that class that we got a lot of traction for this center. And again, shout out to Ruth Waldemichael, Korea White, Andrea Fryer, Isaiah Chavos, my teachers. They're my students, but they're also my teachers, if I can keep it real.
Absolutely. I think my why, I know, I'm not gonna say I think, I know that my why stands on the shoulders of the people who came before me doing this work. I think of Black cultural centers literally across the world and what it has meant I think I remember my first day on a PWI campus, on a predominantly white campus, and being excited, but also feeling this kind of despair, feeling that I don't see me reflected anywhere. And I remember seeing Mama Thorpe, shout out to Mama Thorpe, one of my dearest mentees, my homegirl, Tony Tone. And just how she was able to operate differently, to move in love and hope and joy. And I mean, we're still here, right? Like, we still exist in the world that we live in. And yet centering Blackness allowed her, me, and us to not have to separate ourselves, not have to say that my class self was not my everyday self, right?
Hello.
Like my South Carolina self did not have to give anything to exist as a scholar. And that's a part of my why, is helping people understand that you can bring all of these things together. You do not have to separate. And it also means moving differently. It means moving in love and moving in hope and moving in joy. And sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes we just in a place where we don't. but we're also prioritizing mental health, and we're prioritizing community, and we're prioritizing the things that matter, the things that get us to do the work, the things that get us to write the papers and do the dissertations and do all that. We have to care for us, and we can do it through this lens of Blackness in history and education.
John Robinson Miller, what you just articulated, that is intersectionality. See, it's not an academic exercise for us. What if when my beloved colleague, Kimberly Crenshaw, Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, when Kimberly Crenshaw drops and coins that term intersectionality in 1989, what if that's actually a name for something that Black folk have been doing for a very long time, going all the way back to the Harlem Renaissance, where we had flamboyant Black feminists, Black queer, Black trans, Black Marxist identities, right? I mean, what if this is actually very much the Black worldview, that we've never thought of ourselves as overdetermined by race. We've always, understood ourselves to be racially gendered, and that our sexuality has been racialized, and our conception of religion and spirituality has been racialized in this society. But it's not like every day I wake up and I'll be like, yo, what's up, Black? Like, I don't see myself necessarily like that. No, I'm human first. I'm an African person, African American first, secondarily. So that it's really important to understand the way this center is a transdisciplinary and intersectional center. We are not simply going to study the way that some of the old school Black study centers do. We're not simply going to study race and class. Gender and sexuality will be foregrounded. And we're going to look at the way that they intersect in all of our lives, including straight Black folks' lives. Like, right? Because they just think, that's something for the queer and the trans people and the womanists and the feminists. Oh no, intersectionality interplays in all of our lives.
And with that, I'm looking at our time, and we gotta wrap up really soon. But this. I'm thinking back, like I'm a part of this community, and I'm excited to be in this community. So I have to ask the question, like, how can I, if let's just say that I wasn't, working, or if I was a student, or if I was a community member, or if I was a faculty member or a staff member, how can I get engaged in the cause? And not only as somebody who identifies as Black, but what if I don't identify as Black? Like, how can I really get engaged in the cause? I will take the second part of this question, but I will give you the floor, because you got it.
Excellent. Well, brilliant. I would say that it's understanding the original vision for the cause. The cause is, it's a humanist, a radically humanist space. What do I mean when I say that? I mean that the cause is a space that acknowledges the price of dehumanizing or attempting to dehumanize African Americans and African people all over the world, is that we all, right, including non-Black folk, are out of touch with their humanity. That's the price of human suffering and these human atrocities that, are playing themselves out and have played themselves out in the world. So the cause is about all of us rescuing and reclaiming our humanity. And it's really interesting in a society like this to use Blackness as a framework, as a lens through which we explore rescuing and reclaiming our humanity, like achieving not simply our humanity, but perhaps, John, American democracy. Because when Black people get democracy, then you'll really have democracy in the United States of America, right? When Native Americans and Indigenous people, when they can participate in American democracy, then we will really have democracy. When immigrants from Central and South America, when they achieve, when they can experience in real terms, when women, when queer folk, when trans folk, especially Black trans folk, when they experience the fullness, the real promise of democracy in America, then and only then have we achieved democracy. I don't think that we've achieved democracy yet. I think that we're limping along toward it, dragging our feet sometimes, kicking and screaming and throwing little temper tantrums. But the reality of the matter is it's an unfinished and ongoing project. And that's, for me, that's what this is about. So again, this could also be called the Center for Human Studies, the Center for Dehumanization and Rehumanization Studies. And all of us, because of what has happened, we've experienced some dehumanization, and we need to focus on how do we decolonize ourselves and rehumanize ourselves. Come to the cause. See, listen, John, one of the slogans that we have for the new center is everybody has a special contribution to make to the cause. See, this isn't simply a Black cause. This is a human cause. Did I just drop the mic? I think I did.
And I think for whoever you are, wherever you are, we're going to have workshops and trainings. We're going to be engaging with faculty. We're going to be elevating the works of Black faculty and people who are working with the Black community. We are gonna be, we're gonna have mental health services that expand and target specifically issues within the African diaspora. We are going to have an ambassador program. We're going to be creating a conference on Africana studies. We are going to be doing Black graduation and a mentorship program and leadership development and we're going to have all these places and spaces. And we're also going to be highly collaborative with the people around us because we know we cannot do this work in a silo. So I will say to things that you can look forward to in the fall. One, our open house. I think when the space is going to be gorgeous and beautiful, we are going to have different, we are very aware of people's health needs. So we're going to have different ways and means to engage in the physical, virtual, spiritual, emotional space of the cause. As we are going to be launching our ambassador program for students who not only want to come to programs, but really want to get involved, really want to find another kind of sense of belonging, another touch point into either their Blackness or what that looks like. Staff members, we are here to be thought partners with you. We are really, we're really gonna try to provide wraparound services. Is there anything else that we need to look forward, that we can look forward to in the fall?
Absolutely. We will launch the Center for African and African American Studies concert series, performing arts series, the Africana Cinema series. We will be collaborating with the CU, meaning the University of Colorado Boulder Art Museum. So we will be having art exhibits. We will be co-sponsoring with all the other fabulous BIPOC centers on the University of Colorado campus. Let me roll call them really quickly. The Center for Native American and Indigenous Studies, the Center for Latin American and Latinx Studies, and the Center for Asian Studies. Obviously, we will be partnering with the Department of Ethnic Studies, the Department of Women and Gender Studies, and all of the various colleges and schools around the campus. So again, the cause is a university-wide center, but it's also a community-wide center as well that, let me state it explicitly, white folk are welcome. Let me be really clear though. We're talking about white anti-racists, people that are embracing, right, an anti-racist identity, white allies. We welcome you. There's no way for us to do this work. We cannot do it alone. And it would be wrong, as Audre Lorde said in Sister Outsider, it's wrong to put all of that on us, right? It's wrong. No. BIPOC folk, right? We need allies. And even more than that, we need advocates, because you all can reach people. They're not going to listen to Reiland Rabaka. Believe it or not, John, they're not going to listen to Professor Rabaka. They will hear it from you better, right? Before they will hear it from me. And so we all have a contribution to make to the cause, not simply to the Center for African and African American Studies, but John, as I close out, the great cause, which is human liberation and social transformation. That's the greatest cause. That's why we call the center the cause, because we are preoccupied with the greatest cause, which is human liberation and social transformation. We also say in African American studies, to be an African American studies scholar or student means that you've committed to practicing lifelong self-transformation and social transformation. That's what this is about. That's the great cause though. John, I'm excited because this means that I can, for the rest of my humble little days here on this earth, I want to, in the process of transforming myself, I'm trying to transform the University of Colorado at Boulder. In the process of transforming myself, I'm transforming the city of Boulder, Boulder County, the Denver metropolitan area, dare I say, the country, the world. I'm that ambitious, right? But again, it means that I've got to be open to changing myself. And so we implore you all, join us in this work of self-transformation and social transformation.
Absolutely. As we close out, we hope that this CAAAS conversation, which is going to be one of many, really gave you a look into not only what the CAAAS is going to offer the community, but our philosophies around the love that we will share with you, the knowledge that we will grow with you, the ways in which we will all improve each other as we all seek towards liberation. And with that, we are going to be dropping these like mixtapes.
Come on.
So every CAAAS conversation is actually going to be a focus on a different person, place, thing, local, national, international, as we really have these kind of ongoing conversations. So somewhere on the screen, I don't know where it's going to be, please visit our website, visit our social media pages, sign up and subscribe for our newsletter that we drop bi-weekly, because we want to see you here. Welcome home. We hope and know that you will find your place in the CAAAS. And I love saying this as we sign off, but protect your magic. And if nobody has said it today, I love you.
Y'all take care. Remember, we all have a special contribution to make to the cause. Take care. God bless.
Lift every